There are moments in the Bible when heaven speaks openly. Angels appear, voices thunder, visions are explained. But there are other moments when the divine enters the human world in darkness, without warning, and refuses to reveal its name. One of the strangest of these encounters happens beside the river Jabbok, where Jacob is attacked by a mysterious being and wrestles with him until dawn. The Bible does not explicitly say the being was Michael, and it does not say Jacob's leg was broken. Genesis calls the stranger a man. The prophet Hosea describes him as an angel, and Jacob believes he has encountered God face to face. Later traditions attempted to identify the mysterious wrestler. Some called him the guardian angel of Esau. Others connected him with Michael, the heavenly protector of Israel. But whoever the stranger was, the question remains, why did he wound Jacob? Jacob had spent his entire life struggling. Before he was born, he wrestled with his twin brother Esau inside their mother's womb. At birth, he emerged gripping Esau's heel. Later, he obtained Esau's birthright and deceived their blind father Isaac into giving him the blessing intended for his older brother. When Esau threatened to kill him, Jacob fled. For 20 years, he lived in exile. He built a family, gained wealth, and eventually received God's command to return home. But returning home meant facing Esau. Then Jacob received terrifying news. Esau was approaching with 400 men. Jacob prepared gifts, divided his family into separate camps, and calculated every possible method of survival. He prayed, but he also continued doing what he had always done, planning, negotiating, and attempting to control the outcome. That night, Jacob sent his family and possessions across the Jabbok River. Then he was left alone. No servants, no wealth, no family, no one to manipulate, and nowhere to escape. Only darkness. Then the stranger came. Genesis says a man wrestled with Jacob until daybreak. The struggle was violent and prolonged. Yet when the stranger saw that Jacob would not surrender, he merely touched the socket of Jacob's hip and dislocated it. In one moment, Jacob's physical strength collapsed. This reveals that the stranger had never been fighting with his full power. If a single touch could cripple Jacob, then Jacob had never truly been overpowering him. The struggle was not meant to discover who was stronger. It was meant to transform Jacob. For his entire life, Jacob had obtained what he wanted by grasping. He grasped Esau's heel. He grasped the birthright. He grasped the blessing. He grasped wealth, security, and control. But once his hip was dislocated, Jacob could no longer wrestle effectively. He could no longer stand securely. He could no longer defeat the stranger through physical force. Yet he refused to let go. Before the injury, Jacob fought. After the injury, Jacob clung. The stranger then asked Jacob a strange question. "What is your name?" A heavenly being surely already knew the answer. But years earlier, when Jacob's blind father asked his identity, Jacob lied and claimed to be Esau. He received a blessing under a false name. Now he was forced to speak the truth. Jacob. He had to confess the identity connected to his entire past. The heel grasper, the supplanter, the deceiver. Only then did the stranger give him a new name, Israel. He would no longer be defined merely as Jacob, the man who seized blessings through deception. He would become Israel, the man who struggled with God and survived. Jacob then asked the stranger for his name. The stranger refused. Jacob had been required to reveal himself, but he was not permitted to define the one who confronted him. He could receive the blessing, he could survive the encounter, but he could not control the mystery. Jacob named the place Peniel, meaning the face of God, because he believed he had seen God face to face and lived. Then the sun rose. Jacob crossed the river limping. He entered the night, fearing that Esau would destroy him. He emerged wounded by heaven, but prepared to face his brother. The next day, Esau did not attack him. He ran toward Jacob, embraced him, kissed him, and wept. The enemy Jacob had feared became the source of reconciliation. But Jacob would never walk normally again. The wound remained. Why would God allow a blessing to leave a permanent injury? Perhaps because the limp was evidence that the encounter was real. Every step reminded Jacob that he had survived the presence of God. Every step reminded him that his future did not depend entirely on intelligence, deception, or strength. And every step reminded him that divine blessing does not always appear as comfort. Jacob was blessed, yet wounded. He prevailed, yet limped. He received a new identity, but carried the mark of the struggle for the rest of his life. If the wrestler was Michael, as one later tradition suggests, then Michael did not attack Jacob as an enemy. He may have come as a heavenly examiner, preparing the future father of Israel for the role he was about to carry. If the wrestler was the guardian angel of Esau, then the battle symbolized the future struggle between Israel and the hostile powers that would rise against it. And if the stranger was a manifestation of God, then Jacob was wrestling with the divine presence itself. The Bible never completely resolves the stranger's identity. Perhaps that is intentional. The mystery forces us to look not only at who wrestled Jacob, but at what the encounter did to him. Jacob entered the darkness as a man trying to control everything. He emerged knowing that he controlled nothing. He entered standing in his own strength. He emerged leaning upon a blessing. The wound was not meant to destroy him. It broke the part of Jacob that believed he could secure his destiny through human power alone. His old strength came from grasping. His new strength came from refusing to let go of God. The stranger disappeared at dawn. His name remained hidden. But Jacob walked differently forever, and the limp became the permanent sign that sometimes the deepest blessing does not leave a person untouched. Sometimes it leaves a wound. Sometimes it changes a name. And sometimes the person who appears to have been broken is the one who has finally been transformed. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share this video with your family and friends. Remain blessed, and we'll see you next time.